Hey guys, in this video, we are going to move on to creating the legs for our character along with the basic shape of the feet. Let's go ahead and mask the bottom part of our torso here, just the bottom surface. And invert it. Go and look at the back here and mask that. And then go to the move and then go to set pivot to mask border and just move it down. So we need a little geometry there. That way we could have a little bit more of the pubic area here. So this is what you're seeing me do, just creating some more clay there so we can create his package area later on. And after that, we are going to protrude out the legs from there. Okay, now using my clay strip brush, just adding a little bit more of the shape here on the side and adding a little bit of break here. Smooth that out. Alright, as you can see me there, I'm adding a little bit of protrusion, widening this up. Okay, so I'm going to thicken this area up, add a little bit of volume there to indicate the private area. Okay, so widen this up. That way we have some space for the legs to extrude. Using the grab brush, just pulling the geometry. And then kind of flatten this part out. So just constantly remeshing this as I do this and masking this part where I'm going to extrude out the legs and invert it. Let's go to our move. And set pivot to mask border. And let's go ahead and move that down so we got some legs to work with. Yeah, so you can see that I have a little issue there. Yeah, there's a little bit of mesh there that I don't really want, but I'm going to go ahead and fix that later. Yeah, but right now we got some geometry that we could work with for our legs. And let's go ahead and move this up. Move that so that we have a little gap. So you want a little gap in between the legs there. You don't want the legs to be too close to each other because when you remesh it, it will just be fused together and you don't want that. You don't want any geometry here either because that means it's going to look like it's together, the legs. So you want a little gap there. So I'm going to crank up my smooth so I could smooth a little bit more. Smooth that out. I'm going to go ahead and move it back, the legs. So remember, you don't want the legs to be too straight. And on the front view here, I'm going to go ahead and hide my arms and hide my torso. So I only look at the lower body and just kind of doing the overall shape, thinking about the overall shape of the legs. Then we need to add a little bit of butt area here using the clay strip brush. So as you can see here, add a little bit of triangular shape there and got the butt area going. Alright, on the side, I am adding the muscles for the gluteus medius, and below it is the bony landmark of the femur. Okay, so when you're doing the butt area, just think of beans, kidney beans, right? Lots of fiber. So yeah, this is what I'm thinking about. Kidney beans, lima beans, whatever type of beans you want, black eye beans, but beans is what I'm thinking of when I am doing the butt. And you can see there's a little bit of dip there, and this is definitely more prominent on males where we have that shape right there. Yeah, just be careful. You don't want too much gap in between the butt cheeks. So I see some students, they have way too much gap here where you got the butt here and then there's a gap. So be careful of that. So what I'm doing right here is I have created a little dip here. All right, so I just push it in with a clay strip brush. And then I have this muscle right here, which is the gluteus medius, and then we got this muscle right here, gluteus maximus, and later on we're gonna be going over the leg muscles area. Using the clay strip brush to start to add the muscles on the front of the legs. Going to do the quads now. Just think about the basic forms of the quad area using the clay strip brush as usual when creating the muscles. Okay, so what I'm thinking about right now is we have a few muscles here. We got this muscle right here, which is the longest part of the longest muscle of the body. And then we have this, we have the quads, we have 1, and then we have 2. All right, we have 2, and we have 3 right here. All right, so those are the quad muscle that I'm thinking about. And of course, we have also this shape right here. So we have kind of like this little V form around this area because of the muscle that we have here and the muscle that we have there. And then we got a little bit of the muscle from the glutes kind of showing a little bit. Right, so just think of these muscles right here. So that's roughly about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then if you're showing a little bit from the side, a little bit of this is showing 6, which is the gluteus medius. Of course, you don't really want to show that when you're looking at the front view. This is more like it's kind of a little bit on the side, so we're seeing a little bit of that. Okay, now I'm just gonna go over the hamstring in the back part here. So right here's the hamstring, adding the hamstring muscles on there. So we got a little bit of quads already going, definitely some thick quads. We gotta go ahead and make this a little bit wider and rounder at the bottom so we could mask it and then invert it, and then we gotta protrude this down for the calf area. It's gonna be for the calves, and as you can see me do here, we are doing this leg shaped this way. All right, so I see some students when they're doing the legs, they have it way too straight, the legs. Okay, and yeah, the leg is not straight, like it's not straight. All right, so you gotta have this curve going for the legs. Right, so like this and then like this, kind of like what I have here. You got this shape. We're definitely gonna have to add some more butt in him, but yeah, we have this curve going for the leg. All right, so curve, don't make it too straight. And onto the front view, gonna move it closer. Right now it looks a little strange, but once we start to add the muscles, it's going to look more and more appealing to the eyes. But yeah, right now we're thinking about the bigger forms, the bigger shapes of the leg here. Okay, and I'm going to use my grab brush to just kind of pull this up, add a little bit more curves. So of course we got the little hamstring curve there, and then we got the calves. So it's more like this angle, and then this way for the calves. And we got this curve for the quads. Okay, now onto the front here, I'm going to use my draw sharp to further indicate where the muscles are for the front leg area. And then bringing a little bit of the shape of the knees already. Okay, so you can see how I've added this little carve right there. So think of the S curve as you do this, because this muscle right here, this long muscle, it's called the sartorius muscle. It connects all the way onto the tibia bone. So we got our bone here for our lower leg, which is going to be the tibia bone. There are two bones here. We got the tibia bone, and we also have the fibula bone. That's why you're going to see a little bit, if you look at your leg, there's a little bit of bony landmark somewhere there on the side, on your lower leg area, somewhat below your knee on the side. Feel that? There's a little bit of bony landmark. It's going to be the fibula bone. But yes, I was saying the sartorius, it's really long. It comes down and it connects right about somewhere here on the side, inner part of the tibia bone. And so I done the shape right here. But you really have to think of the nice little curve that I've done right there. And as you can see here, there's the quads. It's pretty huge, the quads that's on the side. You could see it from the front. Okay, so we got from the front, you have the knees right there. So these are the knees, and this is more like the bodybuilder. Okay, sorry about the drawing. Yeah, so you got like the quads right here. All right. So the quad here, that's on the side, it shows in the front. Yeah, this is the knee. This is the quad on the side. This is the quad in the inner, and this is the quad here in the front. And yeah, this right here, it comes all the way over here, and it shows even here on the side, and you could even see a little bit of this from the back. And we will dive more into the back later. Okay, and right now I am just adding a little bit of bony landmark, as I was indicating, the fibula bone. There's a fibula bone there. There's two bones on the lower leg. The fibula, and also we have the tibia. And this little shape right here is just going to be the tendon that's coming from the hamstring area, the back muscles. So from the back, you got this shape right here, which is going to be the hamstring area. We got this shape for the hamstring at the back, and we also have this. So just two shapes that you need to think about for the back. Keep in mind though that if you look at the back of the leg, it looks like it's just one big piece of muscle. Even for a bodybuilder, you don't really see the division of the hamstring. Maybe there's a little few fibers here and there, but usually you just see like one big piece, a little bit of details for the fiber. So yeah, you got this nice hamstring back muscles, right? This is the back muscles. And then this right here is going to be still showing the quads, which is the lateral part of the quads. The side is on the side, you see it. And so right there, you could see I've used my clay strip brush to just kind of add a little bit of dip in there. So I did that there because I want to indicate a little bit of the bony landmark of the tibia bone, which is the lower leg bone. All right, this is the tibia. And so yeah, indicating just like the surface of the tibia there, very essential. And this right here, I'm just thinking about the hero muscles of the lower leg. And that's quite prominent for people that are very muscular in the leg area. It's called the hero muscles. And like right here, I am adding the calves, doing the calves here. Right, so creating more of the calves area. Make sure you look at a bodybuilder legs as you're doing this. Once again, very important to see the defined muscles of a bodybuilder. That way you could really show where the muscles start and where it ends. Okay, so right here, what I'm thinking about is I'm thinking about the calves. So you got this 1 and then 2, right? And you see that the shape is more like this. So one is a little higher and one is a little lower. So very subtle, but it's there. You can see the difference. So just think of this shape. You got some curves going. Make sure you get the shape going right there. And then you got this. Using the clay strip brush, just kind of push that clay in. Okay, so right here, just looking at my upper leg area and gonna move that up, move the knees up a little bit. Now we can mask this area out and going to smooth out the edges. There you go. And invert it. I want to adjust the length of the legs here. I'm gonna go ahead and just use my scale to scale it. Ooh, nope, that's too much. I'm gonna go ahead and use my scale tool here. I'm gonna turn off mirror as I do this. I'm gonna go set pivot to mask border and just scale it down a bit. It was a little too long and big. There you go. Something like that. So there you go. And then go into the move tool and just move it forward. So you could see this shape right here going. We got this, just look at the overall shape of the body. We got this curve, see curve, S, subtle S curve. And then we got another shape, a more subtle S curve. So yeah, we got a S curve right here. And we also have another S curve right here. So just think of that shape as you're doing this. It's not straight, all right? The body is not straight on the upper body, and the lower body it's not straight. So we have curves everywhere. Our body is constructed beautifully, really. I'm gonna go ahead and mask the leg area. Make sure I have mirror turned on as I do this. I'm gonna invert it and then make sure that the edges are soft. You could use the regular brush here. The bigger your brush size is for your masking, the softer the edges will be. Right, now I'm gonna go and mask border and then just gonna rotate this. Rotate it a little bit in this direction, just kind of rotate it a little bit. That way the knees are kind of facing to the side a little bit, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna be extruding out the legs, and it's gonna go kind of this way at an angle, the legs. You don't want the legs to be like right in front like this, because that's not natural. When you're standing up, it's rare that you're gonna see your legs all in the front like this. So with the human body, to keep ourselves balanced, the way we are posed when we're standing is we have our feet here, a little bit on the side, facing a little bit on the side, right? And so this is the reason why I kind of rotated it a bit, and then opening up a little bit the leg so it's not too close. Remember, you don't want to have too much the legs too close to each other. You want a little bit of A shape here, some gap there. That way, if it's time for you to add some outfit for the character, maybe some pants, maybe some big armor here, yeah, it's not really gonna stick together. And so that's the reason why you also need to make sure that you have a little bit gap there and the legs a little bit slightly open up. So slightly just adjusting this, kind of move it back a little bit, not too back, maybe something like that. So now I am revisiting the muscles on the upper leg. So now I'm just using the draw sharp to just further define where the quad muscles are at. So yeah, really carving that clay in. And also here around this area. Okay, so from the side, I'm just thinking about the glutes. So you got the glutes here. You got the side glutes right here. And then we have this little nice muscle here. This is the tensor fasciae latae. You don't really need to know the scientific names, but if that will help you remember the muscles, then feel free to do that. But yeah, we got this little side muscle, and right here we got this little bony landmark. Just that's why I pushed that in a little bit. And that bony landmark is coming from the leg bone. Of course, we got a huge femur here on our leg, so that's what's creating that bony landmark. But you can see that, yeah, we have this big part of the quads. So we got the quads here on the front showing, and then the side. And we have, as I mentioned, we have these muscles here, and all these muscles kind of like connect to this little nice sheet of connective tissue, and this tissue falls down and connect onto the tibia bone, the larger bone on the lower leg. So just think about that as you do this. So yeah, you can see there I was just adding the bony landmark right here for the fibula bone. Gotta put the fibula bone on the right place. Yeah, and right here, kind of further defining the calves area. Carving the clay in. And gonna need to thicken up the butt area. So we cannot have a guy with really big upper body and then he doesn't have much of a butt. So we gotta make sure that we have a little bit of junk and trunk in there. And right here, we do have a little bit of muscle here on the side. And yeah, for the side, we have so we have the bony landmark, which is the fibula. And then we have this, let me do it a little better. Bony landmark of the fibula. And then we have the muscle, a little thin muscle here connecting onto the fibula. So we got one, and then we have coming down right here, another little thin muscle. And we see a little bit of this on the bodybuilder body, but it's really very, very subtle, unless the bodybuilder is really flexing. And here, just kind of add the bony landmark for the leg. So we got the knee here. So when I'm doing the knee, I am just thinking of the thing about the tibia bone. And I'm also thinking about what I'm thinking about is the femur also. I'm thinking about the femur, big bone that we have, femur. And of course, we have the patella of the knee is going to be also on there. So just understanding that shape, you could kind of make out the bony landmark. So for this here, we have the calves area that I'm creating there, and have this soleus muscle. So think of those shapes as you're looking from the inner part of the leg, and we have all these tendons coming from the sartorius muscle, the longest muscle of the body. And then we also have the tendon that's coming from the hamstring area, and also we have some tendons that is coming from the inner. There are some on the inner part of the leg. We also have some muscles here, and there are tendons that's connecting. So all these are tendons crunched up together. All right, and you don't need to do so much. Just add a little bit of subtle geometry there. Subtle shape would be fine. When you're doing the legs, just at the back, make sure that when you're doing the calves, you don't make it too bulbous like that. Just make sure you have this kind of nice angle going for the lower leg. So just gonna make that a little longer because we are going to be extruding out the feet around this area. So need a little bit of geometry at the bottom. Okay, so I'm masking that. This is where the feet is gonna be extruded. Here, right there. Let's go to our move. And then let's go and move this forward. So we got little feet there. Geometry for the feet. And make sure you look on the side view. Make sure from the front view and side view, everything is good. Yeah, so you can see, I just kind of pulled this out to the side like that. So we got a little base for our feet going. Using the inflate brush to inflate this. Right now he looks like he has Donald Duck feet, but we are going to shape this out a little better. So when I'm doing the shape of the feet, I am thinking about this. So we got this nice curve in the inner part of our leg. And then we got this angle, right? Like angle, like that. And then we got this shape going. So just thinking about that overall shape as I'm doing this. And of course, from the front, it looks a little weird. So using my grab brush to kind of straighten that out. Also from the side view, use the grab brush to just further shape this out. Okay, so we have, as I mentioned before, we have the tibialis anterior muscle, the hero muscles, and the tendon for that. So the muscles are connected to the bones via tendon. So we have muscle right here, and then as it connects, it has a little tendon there, and it connects to the inner part of the feet. The tendon for the front muscles right there for the lower leg. Okay, onto the side. All right, looking at all views. Move that down. So I'm thinking of this shape right here as I'm doing the feet area. So around here it's a little flat because of we are standing on our feet, and this right here is to make it flat. If you make it flat around this bottom part, it gives the overall feel that our character has weight to him. And onto the feet area, thinking about the basic forms of the feet. Oh, okay, I gotta remesh this. Smooth that out. So if that happens when you're sculpting on one surface and it appears on the other surface, you probably just have to thicken it up with the inflate brush. Okay, right here I'm just doing the soleus muscle. So we have the calves here, and we also have this little nice muscle here, which is the soleus muscle on the side. And that's what I'm thinking about as I'm doing that shape right there. And you could also see the soleus right here. That's the soleus. And then we got the calves. And there's the ankle area. So when you're doing the ankle, what you need to think about is this is a little higher and this is a little lower. So we got this shape going for the bony landmark. All right. And also you could see that for the feet, I have this part of our feet, the inner part, is kind of lifted off the ground, and the side part of our feet, this is making contact with the floor, so this is a little flatter. And this around here, we got a little bit more curve, and it's a little bit thicker around this area for our feet. So I'm gonna bulk that up and then flatten this up. Right here from the side, we could kind of lift this up a bit and make this a little bit shorter. I think it's too long, the feet area. And always when you adjust from the side, make sure you also look at the front, making sure everything is still good on the front. And I'm gonna go ahead and flatten this area out a little bit and then straighten that out. And you can see we have got a nice shape going for the leg already. And you can see that this part of the leg is a little, the calves gets a little thinner around here. And we got the feet going. So just trying to get the basic shape of the feet there without thinking too much about the toes. right, looking from all views, looking around. Okay, for this here, I could bulk the calves, make it a little thicker. So yeah, I wanna have him to have a little thicker legs. Yeah, you don't really want an orc with thick upper body and then on the legs you get like chicken legs at the bottom. Yeah, the orc is thick all throughout. And I know there are some characters out there where it's really exaggerated, where the upper body's ultra big and then the lower body's really, really small. But those are more like if you're trying to do more of a stylized type of character. But yeah, this here, we're trying to still make this look realistic. Gonna mask the feet. And I'm gonna soften the edges. So remember, if you wanna go ahead and make some soft edges, just use the regular masking brush and crank up your brush size a bit and then just kind of paint over softly and you get a nice little soft edge there. And that's basically how I smooth the masking. And invert it. And I'm gonna go ahead and scale this. Scale this down a little too big. Whoa! Donald Duck feet. Orc with Donald Duck feet is not good. Okay, so just gonna apply the bony line work again. This gotta be a little lower, and this is higher. The bony landmark for the ankle is higher in the inner part. So we slowly getting the shape down, really rough, but it's there. Okay, so I think the shape here, we probably got to do something about the feet, the feet here, masking the lower part here, the leg. And I think we need to rotate the feet onto the side. So I'm gonna use my mask border, rotate this. So we need to put it more at an angle so it's not completely pointing at us. Okay, looking from the front and the side. I think I gotta go ahead and kind of fix the shape overall for the leg using my grab brush. Gonna adjust the location of the knee area. I think the knees here, we probably have to lift it up. So you can see that I have masked this area out first and then I press Ctrl I to invert it. So now all this area are masked except for this because I want to kind of just use my move brush here to just kind of lift it up a bit because I feel like the knee's a little too low. And while you're doing this, something like this, it's very important to keep the edges soft so you have a nice transition. Then move that up. So this is a quick way to kind of adjust the positioning of your bony landmarks. Very, very powerful tool, the masking. like again, if you are adjusting the front or if you're adjusting the side, make sure you look in all views again, because if you manipulate one part of the view, most likely the other part of the other views will also need some adjustments. Yeah, as you can see there, I added a little bit of more shape around the lower leg area, because we do have the, as I showed you here, we do have the tibia bone, and that bone has this nice bump, a tuberosity on there, and so that's the reason why I added this little nice shape here to show the little bump that's on the tibia bone. Okay, and trying to bulk this up a little bit on the calves. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hide my arms, and then go into the side view so I could see the overall shape of the leg and the torso. See if there are any more adjustments that needs to be made. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta do that, hide the arms, that way you could see the body again in the side view much better. Okay, so you can see there I just kind of scaled it a little bit down. There you go. It's just, yeah, I just thought it was a little bigger, so just scaled it down a bit. The body, the overall shape of the body. Back onto the sculpt mode. I'm gonna use my grab brush to kind of pull this forward. That way we have a little bit of the knee kind of sticking out a little bit more. And onto the front view, making sure that we still have a nice little shape from the front and the top view. So redefining the shape here. Just kind of adding those tendons again. Smooth this out. So I'm smoothing with the smoothing brush has quite a low intensity right now, so even when I'm smoothing this, it's not getting rid of the forms that I've added. So you don't want to smooth this out with the high intensity smoothing brush, because that will just get rid of all the details that you just created there. So definitely mess around with your smoothing. Alright, looking from the top and the front, the top and the bottom view, making sure everything is round, there's no flatness going on. Gonna go ahead and move this, add a little bit more curve here on the back. Right, it's really coming along.